Hey everyone, in today's video I'm getting the chance to check out a really cool ceiling fan. You know how I love new technology and I love my LED lights. This fan has both. You can app control both the fan, and this has two lights with it, a white downlight as well as a light ring that you can animate with different scenes, different colors. It's very cool, and come along with me, we're going to check this out together. Hey everyone, my name is Jeff. I do all sorts of tech and gadget reviews on this channel. This particular smart ceiling fan is made by a company called Lumary, and I have reviewed all sorts of different products from Lumary. They do lights, they do all sorts of stuff. If you want to check out any of their other products, they'll be linked down in the video description. And just for full disclosure, this ceiling fan was sent to me by Lumary for my testing and my review. So a real quick overview of this smart ceiling fan. You can connect this by Bluetooth to your phone. You can also connect it to your Wi-Fi, which is what I did. Install the app, and I'll show you all about how to do that, and that gives you full control of this smart fan. If you've got a smart home system like Alexa or Google, you can also voice control turning the lights on and off, or even setting a color, and that in itself makes this pretty cool. The fan has multiple speeds and can deliver up to 6,500 CFM. On average, it seems to deliver somewhere around 5,500 CFM. It is really quiet in my opinion, and a great fan from what I've experienced. But I want to show you guys the unboxing real quick, and then we'll go into the installation. So we've got our Lumary Smart Ceiling Fan Light. This is 2600 lumens of brightness, 52 inches wide, RGB AI technology. It's actually available in different color styles that you can see here. It has all sorts of different types of features, so you can change the colors, 16 million colors to choose from. You can set it on a timer. You can even sync the lights to music. It has a 120-degree beam, app dimming, cool and warm settings. You can control this with an app, and the fan has 6 different fan speeds. Let's unbox this. We have our Lumary instruction manual, and then all the different pieces of the fan, which I'm going to just pull out. Screws, wire nuts, all sorts of fastening materials. We have our fan blades. Everything you see here is what's included inside the box. So here we are in my daughter's room. I'm going to be replacing this ceiling fan, so I'm going to make sure that the switch is off and the power is cut to this particular fan, and then I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this so I can make way for this new fan. So real quick, before I start disassembling the existing fan that's in here, I need to make sure that all power is cut to this fan. Now the lights are on a light switch, and the light switch is currently turned off, but the fan itself will still have power if I go ahead and do and pull on the pull chain that's here. So I need to go and find the circuit breaker box in my house, figure out what circuit this room is on, or this fan is on, and I need to turn that circuit off so that it cuts power to this fan before I do any work disassembling and installing the new fan. So another useful tool that I use is a voltage pen. You can get one of these. I'll leave a link down in the video description if you want to pick one of these up. But when doing any type of electrical installation, you can get one of these guys, just hit the power button to turn it on and hold it up to whatever wire you are testing. If it has power, this thing's going to beep and let you know, hey, that is a live wire. The power is not cut. It's not going to make any noise if the wire itself has no power. So very useful in letting you know if the power is really turned off to whatever electrical appliance you are working on. So I recommend you take a picture of the wiring before you disconnect your old fan so that you can use that as reference. To show you the wires that I have here, There is a black wire, there is a white wire, even though it's starting to become discolored, but this is white, and there's actually a couple of different white wires. They all get tied together. I have two black wires here. Those are also tied together, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. This green wire is a ground wire, and then I've got this extra wire here which was attached to the blue wire of my previous fan. I've got all these so that I know what colors they are labeled. You may also want to add little labels or different colored tape to these wires so that when you disconnect everything, you remember what color wires were each color. So next we want to make sure we've got all these wires prepped for this new ceiling fan. Coming out of my ceiling is this ceiling fan rated outlet box, and we've got our different wires that are here. In order to make good electrical connections, each one of these wires has to be stripped at the end. And when I say that, that means you can see the copper exposed portion, and then there's rubber that runs up the rest of it. Each one of these should have about a 1/2 inch of exposed wire that you can see. And if you have multiple, say, white wires or multiple black wires, those need to be twisted together. So it's easier for me to show you how to strip the wire and cut wire on the table versus up by the ceiling fan and give you a closer view. But essentially you need to get yourself some sort of wire splitter or a wire cutter just like this. You can pick these up at any hardware store. And what you're going to do is you'll see right here all these different numbers for all the different gauges of wire. You can actually just put this wire up to the different holes, and you'll see this looks to be 12 gauge wire. We want to expose about a 1/2 inch of the actual wires, not the rubber coated part. And so I can just open these up, stick this in there, essentially crimp it down on the wire, and go ahead and turn it around the wire. So we're going to just kind of turn that, and then essentially I'm going to hold the wire and pull just like that. That is going to strip my wire and expose the actual wiring itself. Now, we've got all these loose ends here. We actually want to twist this wire. So what I'm going to do is twist to the right. So righty-tighty is my philosophy. And we're just going to use my fingers here and start to twist all this wiring. And so now that I finished twisting the wire, you'll notice it's not fraying out all over the place. It's nicely twisted together. We want to make sure to do this with each wire. Now sometimes there is no twisting that you need to do because it's one solid piece of copper. But if you've got a whole bunch of little wires that are fraying out all over the place, that's essentially how you'll twist it together. So I'm going to show you an example here of how to connect your wires. In this instance, let's say we've got this white wire and it's connecting to the ceiling fan. And let's just say this other white wire is coming out of the outlet box that's coming out of your ceiling. You're going to twist these two together. So again, you're going to make sure both of these wires are already stripped appropriately. And I'm going to take my fingers and twist to the right, righty-tighty. And so both of those wires are twisted together. Now I'm going to take my wire cap and I'm going to go ahead and again put that on and then keep twisting to the right. You'll be able to twist until you're not going to be able to twist anymore. You'll just feel it giving you some resistance. These two wires are now securely connected. You really want to make sure that there's not a whole lot of exposed wire sticking out. I can see the rubber going underneath this cap. I would consider this to be a good connection between two of the same colored wires. So for these wire connections, again, your power is off, so you don't have to worry here, but for these thicker electrical cords, I usually would take a needle nose pliers and I would use that to get a good grip on these wires and go ahead and twist them so that they're nicely twisted together. We've got our black, I've got my white, my ground, and then this is my blue wire. For this new fan, I'm not going to be using this blue wire, so I am just going to put a cap on this, put a little bit of electrical tape, and I'm going to push that back into this outlet box. That is not going to be used. So this ceiling mount, it says, can be attached using the holes so that you can go into your existing outlet box. Now my outlet box does not match up with these holes that are in this ceiling bracket. The other option is you can drill holes into your ceiling. You want to make sure that there's a stud going where you're going to be drilling holes so that you have that extra support to hold the weight of the fan. There are wood screws and anchors that are included with the ceiling bracket. It states in the instructions to drill 9/64 inch pilot holes. And then I've got a washer and one of the included wood screws that I'm going to be pushing into the ceiling bracket. So the unit itself comes with these 5 fan blades, and when you attach them, you can choose whether you want the oak finish or if you just want the black. So you choose which color you want. So the top styrofoam from the box can be used to just kind of hold the fan in place while you are mounting the blades. This helps protect the wiring that's on the bottom of it. So included are all these screws and washers, so you can see all the different blades are going to get attached right here. This is actually the bottom of the fan, so you're going to put facing up whichever color you would like to face down. In this case, we're going to do the oak. So I'm just going to insert these through the slots that are on the sides here, match up the holes with the holes that are on the fan itself, and use my screws and washers to attach all these blades. So now we're going to attach the light. You've got your light panel, which is everything here. I'm going to grip onto it with my fingers and then flip it over, and then this is the actual lamp shade. Should be able to apply some light pressure and then turn this. So you're going to turn it what would be counterclockwise, and it should come apart. Alright, so that's come apart, and then I'm going to just pick this up, and this exposes the light. You've got 3 screws right here. I'm going to unscrew these. You've got these wires that are coming through the center, and I'm going to feed those through my light panel. This light panel attaches with those 3 screws I just unscrewed. Line up your holes. You can go ahead and screw those back together. So the light panel itself has 2 spots to insert wires, and I can see here I can match up red, black, blue, and coming out of the fan, red, black, blue. So I'm going to go ahead and insert these. These snap together, and then same thing, I've got these other ones, this yellow, gray, and white, and that's going to feed right into this little slot down here. And then I'm just trying to set the wires up so that they're not blocking any of the LED parts of the light, and then I can go ahead and put my lampshade back on. Just find those grooves, and then we're going to do a slight clockwise turn to lock it in place. So next we are going to work on our downrod, and there are 2 downrods included. One is a 10-inch downrod, one is a 5-inch downrod. The 10-inch is actually a little bit lower than I need, so I'm actually going to switch it to the 5-inch. There's 2 screws at the top of this here, and so I'm going to take those out. That allows me to switch this downrod out. So on both of the top of these downrods, there's a little hole, and that needs to match up with the screw that's going to your ground wire. There's also this bigger hole in which there is a pin that has to seed through it. So that pin goes all the way through, and then that pin lines up with the groove that is at the top of this. So we're going to seed that in there, line up this hole for this ground screw, and then I'm going to put that back in, and then there's another screw here that I'm going to tighten as well. Okay, and I can see that my pin is seated through and my 2 screws are tight. So on the top of the fan are some wires, and they're zip tied right now. I need to lengthen them, so I'm going to cut that. So behind these wires is a set screw, which is right here, which is held by this little pin. I'm going to pull this out, and that allows me to then remove this set screw. So next I'm going to start feeding these wires through this downrod, but there's a process to this because this downrod is going to insert into here. We're going to put that pin back in to lock it in place. These wires have to be in there. In addition to that, there is this canopy on it, and this canopy has to go first into this downrod so that you have that, and then from that point you're gonna have a decorative cover that's going to cover these screw holes, so that needs to get inserted next. And then after that there is this yoke, and this yoke goes on this downrod as well. That's going to go and eventually sit on top covering all these. So with these pieces now on my downrod, I'm going to feed these wires through the bottom so that they're sticking out the top. I'm going to then connect those up at the ceiling. Okay, my wires are coming through the top. I'm going to reinsert this set screw and lock it in place with this little cotter pin. And then there are two screws, one right here and one right here, that I'm going to tighten up. With these connections made, I can pull this yoke down, and that's going to cover up all those screws and everything that's on top of the fan. Now I can push this down, and I'm going to hang this ball part of the down rod in the ceiling bracket that I mounted to the ceiling prior. So also included is this power box, and again, it's just easier for me to show you connecting this up down here versus up in the ceiling. But you have, coming out of your outlet box in the ceiling, you've got your white wires, you've got your black wires, and you're going to connect these with your wire cap and go ahead and connect these up to the ceiling. The fan itself and the light, they get connected to this power box. This power box has different labels on it. So it says motor output, which is to these wires right here, CCT, and RGB. And there should be some labels on these wires that are coming out of the top of the fan, which are now coming out of our down rod. And there's a little label that's on these wires that says RGB. So RGB is this red, blue, and black wire, and that's going to get plugged into this little port that's right here. On this one here, the red, black, and white wires, you can also see coming out of here, the red, black, and white wires, those are our motor outputs. Those are going to get connected. And then we have one more set of wires here, the yellow, gray, and white. There's CCT labeled on here, and there's a little port. Those are actually going to get connected right there. This power box seeds up top in that bracket that we installed. So it's essentially going to go like right here, and then this canopy is going to cover all this stuff up. There's also a green wire here for ground, and this would get attached to your outlet box. You may also already have another green ground wire that's coming out of that, and you would just do what we did, wire stripping here, strip that end off, and then wire cap your grounds together. So here's a quick look at how the fan looks when it's not running, when the lights are turned off. I like the darker finish of the fan blades, and I think it looks very stylish, very fresh in my daughter's room where I have this mounted. Here's the final product after installing the fan. So far, I think it looks great. Let's take a closer look at its features. The other thing that's great for the remote is they include a holster that you can wall mount, so that if you do want to use the remote for quick and easy turning on and turning off, you've got that option. With my particular setup, once I installed the fan, this particular light switch has no effect on turning the fan or light on or off, but I can mount the remote right here on the wall and use the power button or the fan button to operate the light and the fan as if I were using the switch. So let's talk about installing the Lumary app and setting it up so that you can customize what you're doing with this product. So what we're going to do is go to our App Store, go to our Google Play Store, and I want you to search for Lumary, and then go ahead and install the Lumary app. When you go ahead and install that, you can tap on Open, and then this brings you into the app. Now, before you get to this home screen, you probably, if this is the first time, if this is your first Lumary product, you're going to have to create a free Lumary account. So you can go ahead and get that set up with your username and password. And then any lights or devices that you have, you can add into this app, and you see them all popping up here in mine. These are all other products that I've showcased on my channel. So I've done reviews on the rope lights and things like the pathway lights, sidewalk lights. So if you want to check out any of those review videos, those are going to be linked down in this video description. To add this particular fan, I'm going to go up to the top here, hit this plus icon in the upper right corner, and then I'll go to add device. And when I go ahead and add device, it's going to search for nearby devices. I need to put this fan into pairing mode. And the easiest way that I found to do this, go ahead and take your remote, and we're going to long press down on this fan on off button. And after I do this, that's going to start putting the light into a pulsating mode. And now I can see here that it's discovered the device, and I can go ahead and hit add. And from this point, I need to connect it to my Wi-Fi. And then while the light is still pulsing and I've entered my Wi-Fi information, it's now going to add this particular product. And then once it's added here, it says added successfully. So we're going to hit done. So here we are in the Lumary app, and I want to show you all the things you can do to control the fan and the light using the Lumary app. You do get more options, more control using the app than you do just the handheld remote. First, let's start with the lights. And in the app, you'll see at the very bottom, there are different icons. I'm going to run through each one of those icons, which takes you to a different area of controlling this product. First is going to be the light bulb, which I'm on right now. And you can also just power the entire fan and lights on and off using that button all the way to the left. That is the power button. But this light bulb allows you to control the two different lights that are there. First is going to be the white light, and I'm going to go ahead and tap on that switch, that toggle switch. That is going to turn on the white light. And from this point, by moving my fingers around on the screen, I can tap to make it a cooler white versus the warmer white. I can also just toggle this bar at the bottom to control the brightness. So if I wanted it brighter or dimmer, I can do that using this particular control system. The other color option is the color wheel that goes around that light, and I'm going to toggle that on, and you're going to notice now that it starts to light up. It's actually animated, and that's from one of the next icons we're going to get to, but I'm going to increase that brightness. And I'm going to just choose a solid color. So there's pre-selected colors there, red, yellow, green. And as I tap on those, it's going to just change that light, that ring to whatever color. I can also just tap on the color palette and choose whatever particular tint of color I want. And if I really like one of these tints and it's not in my saved favorite dots at the bottom, I can tap that plus icon and I can now make that another pre-saved color. So pretty cool stuff. The other thing that I want to show you here, I'm going to just turn off that main white light so you get a better idea of how that light ring looks. And let's do a couple of these pre-selected colors. Very cool stuff. Also under that white light area, I'm going to turn that back on for a second. You'll see all the different preset shades of white, but then the last thing there is the moon icon. I'm going to tap on that. And what that actually does is turns it into a nighttime mode. I'm going to see if I can do that. And really what it's doing is it's setting the color wheel to that particular color and turning off the white bright light. This is kind of a moon nighttime setting if you wanted to use that option. So different options available, both the white light and the color. I'm going to move on to the next icon on the bottom, which is that little paint palette. And this paint palette gives you different scenes that you can put the light into. And so you'll see rainbow, you'll see Glacier Express. I'm just going to tap on, say, rainbow, and you'll notice the color wheel is going to kind of flow with a rainbow color. I'm going to tap on Glacier Express, and now it's going to do something different. To accentuate these scenes that you can do, I'm actually going to turn the white light off. So I'm going to go back to that light bulb. Let's turn off the white light just so we have the color wheel. There we go. Now we can get a little bit more of the effect. I'm going to go back to that color palette, and we're going to keep going through some of these different scenes. So Sea of Clouds, if I tap on that, it's going to do different animations. Fireworks at sea, going to do different fun things with the light. And as I scroll down here, there is a whole bunch of presettings here that are already set up. Spring outing, you'll notice that some of them run around the whole color ring and others do different effects. But I'm just going to jump through some of these other effects here so you can get an idea and see all the different preset settings. This is really cool for just chilling in this room and having all these different preset color settings that you can go through. A lot of fun, a lot of very cool stuff that you can do. Now, in addition to this, you can make your own scenes. Up at the top it says DIY number 1, number 2. You can tap on any of these and you can go through the different scene colors there and the paragraph where it says interact and speed, and you can set up your own different types of effects and then leave them saved at the top there as your own scenes. So lots of customizability with this light. I'm going to move on to the next setting down at the bottom, which is the music note. And this music note is, it says the light's going to follow the music collected by the phone microphone. So as I'm talking, or if I was playing music, I'm going to tap the play button here. The light is going to change to whatever beat of the music or whatever's happening. So in this instance now, you can kind of see the light changing as I'm talking, and it's pretty cool. It's giving you an example here of how the light is going to change to the beat of the music. So again, if you wanted it to be like a party light or something in your room, another very cool effect. So we're going to jump back here to some sort of a solid color just so that it makes it easier to see things. And I'm going to move to the next control, which is the fan blade. And you can control the fan through this app. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle on the switch, and that's going to start the effect in the app showing you that the fan is starting to turn. And then at the same time here, it is giving me, it's actually starting up, but it's giving me 6 different levels here that I can move the fan speed up to. So let's go to fan speed 2, and you can kind of see the difference there in speeds, 3, 4. What else is pretty cool is it's got 2 different fan modes. So it has a fresh, which I'm currently on fresh, which is basically just a solid, or I'm going to say a constant fan spinning speed. I can also tap on nature, and what it's basically going to do is it's going to ebb and flow, where it's going to speed up the fan and it's going to give you a bunch of breeze, and then it's going to slow it way down. And then it'll do that for a short period of time, and then it's going to speed it back up again. That is their nature mode, which is pretty cool. If you just wanted it to constantly be running, you could put it on fresh. The other thing is it has a forward and reverse, and even while the fan is running, if I go ahead and tap it into reverse, it is going to slow the fan down, and when it gets all the way stopped, it takes a second or two, but then it is going to reverse whatever the fan does as far as direction. So we're almost stopped at this point, and at some point here it is going to fully stop, and then it's going to take a second, realize it's stopped, kick in, and go into reverse. So you have all these different options with the fan depending on what you want to do, and you can control it all right in the app. I'm going to go to that last icon on the bottom. That last icon here has all sorts of different options. So for like if you want the light to turn off at a certain time, it's got a countdown. You can set a timer. So I could just go into timer here, and it says the timing here may be about 30 seconds, but I can go to add, and if I wanted the fan or the color or the white to turn off after, say, a certain period of time on a certain day, I can set all that up, and then I can just hit save, and now that the fan is on a timer, likewise, you can set it so it turns on that timer as well. So lots of different options, customizability. It's also got some other options here as well, just to give you full customization of this fan. The other thing I want to mention is because this fan is hooked into our smart home system, I can also voice control this. So at this point, I'm going to try saying, "Hey, turn off Zedra's bedroom light." And I was able to turn the light off using my voice. "Hey, turn on Zedra's bedroom light." So I have full voice control of the light as far as trying to turn the fan on or off with my voice. When I go ahead and say the phrase, unfortunately, it just tells me that device has not been set up yet. I can't seem to find an area in the app where I can do that, but I do have voice control of the light at this time. The installation went fine. However, for whatever reason, the bracket that comes with this Lumary fan, I couldn't get to fit on my existing outlet box where the screws go into it. That's how my previous fan had been hung. The other option that Lumary gives you is you can screw the bracket directly into the ceiling, which is what I did, and that's how I was able to mount the ceiling fan. It would have been a lot more convenient for me to be able to screw it into the outlet box, but not a big deal. I was able to finish wiring the rest of it up and then install it and mount it. And then from that point, was able to sync it up here and start using the fan. So what are my final thoughts on this fan? I think it's a great fan for all the different options that you get. Lumary's products give you so much customization in the app where you can change all the different colors. They have tons of colors to choose from. I mean, you get the whole color palette, so you can tap on the exact tint you want, all the different animations or scenes that you can do with the ring light that goes around the light that's in the fan itself. You can create all sorts of different types of moods so that if you just want to relax, if you would like to chill out, you can choose a slower pattern, or if you kind of want to turn it into a party light and you want it moving faster or even to the beat of music, you've got those options as well. So that to me makes this a really cool light. I think the fan is nice and quiet, definitely puts off a nice breeze, very relaxing. The fact that you can control all those different options in the app to me is really cool. I also like the fact that it comes with a remote that you can mount to the wall. So one thing I wish they would improve with this fan, I do really like the white downlight. I do think that it brightens up the room, and the fact that you can change the brightness. Right now it is at full brightness, but this light definitely shines straight down. You'll notice in the back corner and even this corner over here, there are shadows. This light is more of a downlight versus, it's more of a spotlight versus a floodlight casting outward. And so different parts of the room, it does leave shadows. It's brightest right underneath it. Now this room is 11 feet by 9 feet wide, and this is installed in an 8-foot high ceiling. And it does light this room very well, but again, all the corners of this room have different shadows. Now I just want to compare that to this other ceiling fan that we have. This is in our master bedroom. This room is 11 by 14, and we've got a slightly higher ceiling. This ceiling is actually where the fan is mounted, 11 feet. The 3 different bulbs that are in this fan, even though they are shining down, for whatever reason, seem to cast the light outward better than the other fan, whereas that is more of a downlight or a spotlight. There are still shadows in this room, but I would say overall the light is varied in this room, and it definitely seems to cast it outward, brightening up the entire room versus just one focal spot. So now I'm interested to know, what are your thoughts about this smart ceiling fan? Is this something that you would like to install, and which room in your house would you install this in? Let me know down in the comments section below. I've also reviewed a whole bunch of other Lumary products, so if you want to check out some of those, I highly recommend you check out either the pathway lights or the neon rope lights that I've done reviews on. Honestly, I may take some of that neon rope lighting and install it around the perimeter of my daughter's room because I think it would pair very nicely with this smart ceiling fan. You can check out all of those videos linked down in this video description. My name is Jeff, and I do appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this, you can hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell. You'll get notified every time I release weekly videos on this channel. And be sure to make every day awesome. I will see you in the next video.